my buddies, it's Carmen, and this is my second Chatty Crochet With Me crochet along video. And if you haven't seen my first one, or if you don't want to watch my first one, because it's a long drama thing, basically I like to crochet, and as I do that, I'm going to film myself crocheting, and then I will also talk to you because I like to talk while I crochet, and also I'll usually I'm watching Netflix. So instead of doing that, why don't I contribute to YouTube, right? So it's the start of the fall season finally, and I have my hoodie on. This is one of my favorite hoodies. It's a really cute what's it called, sidewalk, like crosswalk thing, where it's like the blue, I guess, technically represent the sidewalk, and then the white is like the paint on the back, and then it's been raining, and then I'll show you the back. Oops. I don't know if you can see that. Oh. Yeah, I really like it. It's from Threadless. I got it on a sale a while ago because they're usually like $40, $50, but I got it for $20. Yeah. Love Threadless. I've loved it since high school. But now, today I will be talking about my love of books. Guys, don't mean to bore you, but I really like books. Just so I get the crochet stuff out of the way, I am still doing the same blanket that I was doing last month. I'm now like avoiding crocheting unless I'm recording a video, which is kind of sad. But I'm using the same eye hook as last month. And hopefully there will be no dying squirrels in the background. I don't hear any. So I'm making the same blanket as last time. Like I said last time, this is a like rainbow scrap Afghan blanket. I'm using the same eye hook. I'm using the same number 4 worsted weight yarn. And now I will talk about books. Basically, my love of books started when I was a wee child. Basically, my mom used to read to me as a kid. She would read like Dr. Seuss, and I'm pretty sure she would read to me like a bunch of Chinese comics, because apparently I knew a bunch of Chinese before I went to kindergarten. That's weird, because I like stumble across words a couple sometimes, but I'm pretty fluent in English and speak little to no Chinese. Yeah, so I think my love of books came from my mom reading to me as a kid. I loved One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and probably like, I think that was my favorite because the old books, they would be like the ones we have an attic, the ones that we had back, like the ones that I used to have, I would basically, the covers would be falling off, like there'd be rips in the middle there, and guys, I just love reading, and I love destroying books. I basically wanted, like, if you don't know, I love notebooks. I have a whole blog series or whatever about it in my blog, but I love notebooks, and I would want basically any book that I could get my hands on. So if I wanted like, I would want like workbooks for math, like in 3rd grade. I would want workbooks. And like science books, I wanted all books. We used to get like encyclopedias here. Yeah, just like upstairs is full of books. We loved comics as kids, so like we had a bunch of Chinese comics basically. There's this one guy, I don't know what his name is now, but he's basically like an old guy, I guess, and he's pretty simplistic. He had like a round head, and he had like a little tin hat and like whiskers. Sorry, he had like a little tiny mustache, and he would get into hijinks with his friends, and that was basically the whole comic. But we still love those, and I would read like Garfield. I used to love Garfield. Garfield was amazing. I used to love Encyclopedia Brown. Oh my god, those are so great. Encyclopedia Brown. That was, I think, after Harry Potter, or like while Harry Potter was getting read. I was also reading Encyclopedia Brown. And like, I still love Goosebumps, and now I hate scary things. I think it's because I got overloaded by Goosebumps as a kid. But like, that would scare the living daylights out of me, and I would just read them all. I would read a bunch of like Choose Your Own Adventure books. Choose Your Own Adventure books were the best. Did you guys love Choose Your Own Adventure books? I used to love those so much. I used to I would totally cheat, quote unquote cheat. So I'd come to a fork in the road. I would put I would rip these pieces of paper to bookmark it, and then I would be like, okay, I'll pick the one that I would do, and then I would read until another fork in the road, and then I would pick what I would want to do, and then I would go to another fork in the road, and I would pick what I would want to do. But then, if I'm like, oh, I died, all my decisions led to me dying, then I would go back to the most recent fork in the road, pick the other one, and go from there. And then eventually, I would read the whole thing. But I was never one of those crazy people that read the whole Choose Your Own Adventure book from front to back without going through the adventure. Like, you're a crazy person if you ever did that. You're crazy. Another book I really loved in middle school was, I can't remember what the first book or what the series is called, but they were a series of, women knight books by Tamora Pierce, and I think the first one was called something like Alana the First Knight, or maybe it was I know the main character's name was Alana. I know she was a lady knight. I know she fell in love with somebody, and oh my god. Boys look away now. But, I mean, if you get squeamish or whatever about girls' periods, this is when you would stop listening. But basically, they described, her getting her first period, and she was like, oh my god, I'm dying! What happened? I found blood in my bed! And, the, nurse or whatever that was taking care of her, she's like, no, you have just become a woman. And I was like, what is this? And pretty much scarred me while I was in middle school. But that was still great. Because I was like, oh my god, am I because then after that, when that happened to me, I was like, oh, this happened to Alana. Yeah, so that series was basically about this girl, then woman, first girl, later woman, knight, and she'd basically start off as a squire. I think they each book was first you were a squire, then you were a whatever comes after squire, then you were a knight, and then so on and so forth. And there was evil and magic, and it was all great. I used to love that. My goal is to still get the whole series and read it over again, because that series is magical. And I probably, if I go back and read it now, it probably won't be as magical as the first time I read it, because I was I still look for books that remind me of it, even though maybe that's why I don't like fantasy anymore, and that was all fantasy. And maybe it's because I don't like scary stuff anymore, but I used to love myths and legends and what are they called? Scary tales that you would tell each other? Urban legends. I used to love urban legends, and I would just read a bunch of those. I used to buy a bunch of mythology books. Any anthology I could get my hands on, I read, because I loved anthology books. A bunch of myths, a bunch of urban legends. I think that's how I got into Goosebumps, because they were little kid urban legends. And of course Harry Potter. How, you guys, if you haven't seen my Harry Potter video about who my favorite characters are, if you don't like Sirius, then you're wrong. So basically, that's the summary of that video. Yeah, and then I basically have loved reading until now, which and basically I loved reading until high school, which is when you're supposed to read for real. And then I was like, nah, I'm not having none of that. I basically hated reading what I was told to read, and I only wanted to read what I wanted to read, which was all fantasy and sci-fi books. The other thing that I read was a bunch of Star Wars books, where it's either Luke and Leia's, I don't remember if this was that, but I think it was Luke and Leia's kids and that canon. I don't know if I ever got through that, but I basically hated reading whatever I had to read at school and interpreting what the authors wanted to know. Couldn't we just read a book about a rich Jew looking for love, Great Gatsby? Why do we have to interpret what all this allegory? Ugh, God. I really hated English. And then I feel like the most recent books that I really loved was the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series and the Hunger Games series. I think the Hunger Games series I really read because I know it was like young adult, but and I think I was in college when I read it. So technically I was a young adult, okay? But I read it, and it was because my cousin got me into it. My cousins got me into it. They're like, "Oh, this book is so great. Have you read it?" And I was like, "No, what is this? This is like the new Harry Potter." And so I read it, and I was like, "Okay, this is good." The thing was, I didn't know it was about killing children until I read until like they actually started killing the children, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is for real." I was not expecting this to actually kill children. And I was pretty traumatized that that's what my cousins were reading, but I got over it. And I read the other 2 books, and they were really good. And then my mom and I got addicted to the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, which was amazing. I think it was, like, obviously after everyone else got into it, and I was like, yes, I need to read it. Those were so great. But I haven't got hooked since The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And after that, I was reading this series about a gay detective and his boyfriend or whatever, but it was really hard to find around here. Like, I found a copy of one book at the library, and I found another copy at a used bookstore, so I had to buy that one. But other than that, there weren't any other copies anywhere, even though I would love to read the rest of that. And let me get that book so I can show you what it looks like. This is that book. It's called The Only Good Priest, and it's by Mark Richard Zubro, and the series is called the Stonewall Inn series. I don't know if you can read that. Stonewall Inn Mysteries. So I'll read the back, but this is the second in the series, and the first in the series was... Oh, sorry, this is the third in the series, so I've read the first 3 at least. So the first one I read was A Simple Suburban Murder, and the second one was called Why Isn't Becky Twitchell Dead? And this one is called The Only Good Priest. And if you can't tell, I love crime fiction. I also love true crime, but that's another video. Another topic for another day. So the back of this reads, Father Sebastian, the only good priest everybody knows, is dead. The pastor of a parish outside of Chicago, Father Sebastian was also involved in the gay community through his work with Faith, the gay Catholic organization the diocese is trying to drive out of the church. This is what they call cozy mysteries, because it's like not hard drama, I guess, not hard crime. High school teacher Tom Mason, who has gained some local notoriety from his involvement in a couple of murder cases, is asked by friends to look into the priest's death. Was it murder? Along with his lover, Scott Carpenter, a professional baseball player, Tom plunges into ecclesiastical intrigues, the hidden underground of gay Chicago, and the tragedies caused by a hypocritical church. So that's what this one is called. The first one was like A Simple Suburban Murder. So it was like, I think that's how Tom met his lover, Scott Carpenter. I really hate that word. And I think the second one was Why Isn't Becky Twitchell Dead? Because that sounds familiar. But look, you guys, this was signed by so this is the one that I bought, and this is signed by, which I bought at Recycle Bookstore here in San Jose. But it's signed by Mark Richard Zubro. That's cool. But yeah, I think I'll reread this. I'm kind of in the mood to reread some good books, even though I have no time. I also read this book recently, which is Stormfront by Jim Butcher. This is the first book in the Dresden Files series, but I got obsessed with this because of the sci-fi series The Dresden Files by the same name. But I really like this. I really like that TV series. You should go check that out if you haven't ever heard of it. But these are all the books. These are all the books in the series. I also bought this at the Recycle Bookstore. I love supporting local businesses, especially local bookstores. But this was really good. It made me fall in love with science fiction again, because I feel like when I read fantasy and science fiction nowadays, it just goes over my head, and I'm like, I have no idea. But But this definitely made me love fantasy all over again. I really, like, basically he's a wizard, and you can hire him to do stuff. So, I'll read the back of what this is, and then I'll end this. Harry Dresden is the best at what he does. Well, technically, he's the only at what he does. So when the Chicago PD has a case that transcends mortal creativity or capability, they come to him for answers. For the everyday world is actually full of strange and magical things, and most of them don't play well with humans. That's where Harry comes in. Takes a wizard to catch a, well, whatever. There's just one problem. Business, to put it mildly, stinks. So when the police bring him to consult on a grisly double murder committed with black magic, Harry's seeing dollar signs. But where there's black magic, there's a black magic. But where there's black magic, there's a black mage behind it. And now that mage knows Harry's name. And that's when things start to get interesting. Magic. It can get a guy killed. Yeah, I love this series. I wish I had money, and I want to buy them all. They're really, I mean, this one was really good. I love this series on Netflix, and you should definitely go check that out. I hope you have enjoyed this video, you guys. Let me know if you like this format better over me crocheting and then looking up and talking to you, because I felt like that was awkward. I felt like I was just, like, you were just looking at the top of my head, which is gross and not interesting. And plus, like, you can see my my hair clip here. And so I felt like that was pretty boring, but if it's just me talking to you and you can watch me crochet at the same time, maybe that's better. Maybe you just want me to talk to you for like a half an hour, and that's fine too. Let me know what you think, and thanks for watching, you guys.